What's up, independent agents? Are you driving your clients off to the carrier self-servicing platforms after the sale just to minimize your service demand? Stop doing that with the premier mobile and web agency solution, GloveBox. Now you can keep your clients in front of your agency at all times, all while delivering the carrier self-service experience that will minimize your service costs and absolutely wow your customers. On top of that, GloveBox will help you increase your cross-sales, referrals, and overall retention with an easy-to-use policyholder interface. Trust me, guys, we're using this at Portal Insurance, and this is literally happening. We are selling policies and servicing policies through our app. Schedule your demo with GloveBox today, and be sure to mention the Insurance Guys podcast for 20% off of your subscription for the life of your account. Guys, it's so cool that I can tell my clients, download the Portal app. Thanks, GloveBox.
Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast, powered by GloveBox. God, I love GloveBox. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your fearless host and leader, Mr. Scott Howell, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's podcast, please help me welcome. He is the 6'3" sophomore out of Saraland, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. And ladies and gentlemen, when you say the words best insurance agent in America, there are only two words that need to be said. How you doing, Bradley Flowers?
I was going to say Mike Stromso.
No, Bradley Flowers.
What's
How
up,
you doing,
brother?
brother?
Good. How are you?
Bradley, let's go ahead and start today's podcast by telling the 250,000 insurance agents from around the world that there is no person in the insurance industry that has crazier stories than Scott. But today's story, ladies and gentlemen, may take the cake, and it happened this morning. This story may be better than the time that I dropped a couple's insurance applications in the toilet and had them still sign them. I will tell that on the podcast one day. It is 1,000% true. This story may be better than the time that I was invited to a senior management conference for Nationwide Insurance and got there early and decided that I needed to do some manscaping and actually shave my eyebrows off before dinner. That is a true story, ladies and gentlemen, and I will tell it on the podcast one day. That is a true story. This story may be better than last week when Bradley and I were reminded of Scott Howell going to the Tennessee Young Agents Conference 2 years ago and just getting hammered drunk. And I decided to do fake business behind the desk at the hotel. And the people that actually check you into the hotel came out and started screaming at me that I could not do fake business behind the hotel desk. Bradley, is that a true story?
I never knew that this happened.
Well, it did.
We got rebooked to go to the insurers again of Tennessee. We'll be there next month. Next month being the end of July 2021, in case you're listening to this in the future. And I'm texting one of the people from the insurers, and he said something like, I just hope Scott doesn't try to work at the hotel again. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, when we were coming back from the social hour, he jumped behind the counter and started checking people into their rooms.
I was doing fake business.
Only Scott Howell.
Were you fake busy or real busy?
That's another topic we need to discuss on the podcast, but not today. We've got bigger fish to fry. Today's story, ladies and gentlemen. My wife hires her cousin to paint our house. He is going to start painting my house this morning. 1,600 square foot house that everybody's Meemaw and Pawpaw live in. Mama and Pawpaw, granddaddy, grandma, whatever you want to call them. Probably won't take him 30 minutes because my house is so damn small. I digress. I walk outside this morning, Bradley, and he's standing there with my pressure washer, and he wants to talk about painting the house and pressure washing the house. And I go back inside, I take a shower, I get my stuff together, I go out to my car, and as I walk out the front door of my house, there's a young man that looks like he is in high school. He is standing there with a pair of muck boots on, khaki shorts, and a yellow t-shirt. And he is rolling up an extension cord. I put my stuff in the passenger seat of my minivan. That's right, folks. I drive the minivan. We talked about that.
He does.
And as I go around to the driver's side, I turned to him and I said, boy, what's your name? Now, folks, you got to understand something. I asked the young man what his name was because he was standing in front of my metal Butler building, and I figured I wanted to know whose ass I was going to whip if I came home and something was missing from my Butler building. That's the only reason I asked him his name. He said, my name's Kent. I said, Kent, where you go to school? He said, I go to Sneed State Community College. Now, by this time, I'm half in the minivan, okay? Has everybody got the mental picture? I'm half in the minivan. I'm about to come down here to work in the Huntsville office. And just as an oh, by the way, as I'm just about to sit down in my seat, this has never happened in the history of insurance, I said, what are you going to do when you grow up, Kent? A good-looking kid, real tall, about my height, good-looking, reminded me a lot of a younger Scott Howell. And I said, what are you going to do when you grow up, Kent? And he said, I'm going to be an insurance agent. And I stood up and I started walking towards him and I said, are you kidding or are you serious? And he said, I'm dead serious. And I said, well, how do you know I'm an insurance agent? He said, I didn't know you were an insurance agent. He said, my mama's a State Farm agent. And I said, you going to go to work for State Farm? And he said, no. I'm gonna go to, he said, I'm gonna go to work for Allstate. I said, well, I got great news for you. Quinky dink, I sell Allstate insurance. I start having a job interview in my driveway at 8:00 this morning in the middle of freaking nowhere. You couldn't find my house. Interpol couldn't find my house. And I've got a 19, 20-year-old kid telling me, how many 19 or 20-year-old kids, Bradley, you ever met said they wanted to be an insurance agent?
I know of two, and one of them's me.
Yeah, right. So unbelievable. Could not believe that happened this morning. Anyway, I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a fantastic podcast for you today. We have somebody that is a brother from another mother to me. He is a dear friend of mine. I love him more than he knows. I always enjoy spending time with him. I went to the doctor last week. I was not feeling well. They gave me a prescription to spend more time with him. That's how serious I am about this. He is a 17-time MDRT qualifier, and I'm lying about that, but it's a bunch. It's a bunch. He is from Pensacola, Florida, and he is a third-time guest on the IGP. He is the CEO and president of Atlas Financial Strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, Mr. Andrew Martin. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good, gentlemen. How about y'all?
Man, I am doing fantastic. Unbelievable story. If you'd have told me I'd have walked outside of my little 1,600 square foot Meemaw house this morning at 8 a.m. and I'd have had a damn possible employee standing out there rolling up a extension cord, I'd have told you were smoking something.
So did you hire him?
Well, we're just getting to the get to know you stage.
Yeah. So you're dating.
We're dating.
Gotcha.
That's right.
You'll be happy to know that shirt that you sent me, the Eye Protect shirt that you sent me.
Got it on right now. Proud.
I so eloquently modeled, right?
Yes.
I wore to the gym this morning.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing that.
I wear it once a week to the gym.
I don't have an Eye Protect shirt, and I want one.
Well,
you got to earn one.
You're right. Yeah.
I don't know what else I have to do. But
You got to eat T-bone steaks and do dumbbell weights to get one of these Bradley Flowers. You can't just like roll up and be like, I want a T-shirt. Hey, Andrew, we got a lot to talk about today.
Scott's getting paid less on our next speaking engagement.
I didn't know I ever got paid. Anyway, hey, Andrew, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
We need to help these insurance agents out there sell more life and financial services, or call you and let you help them and help their clients. So let's talk a little bit about, you and I haven't been together since COVID-19 happened, the coronavirus. Talk to our audience today about what you have seen in the life and financial services industry since people started dropping like flies from COVID-19.
Well, I'm hoping, some of the people that are listening have probably seen the same things that I've seen. And, the national statistics, show an increased people are understanding that they are mortal, right? So
Right.
people are, life insurance sales are going up. People getting their estate planning done has gone up. And sometimes, like I mentioned, before we hopped on, sometimes it takes that kick in the pants, kind of that reality check for people to be like, you know what, maybe I do need to get this stuff done. You know what, people close to me, people I know are dying. Look at the mess that was created by that because of improper planning or just not having their ducks in a row. I don't want that happening to me and my family. And we talked throughout the years, right? We always talk to people about these things and try to get them to see the light. And, like I said, sometimes it takes that reality check for people, to make it real for them. So, and a lot of the other insurance agents or financial advisors or people in our industry that I've spoken to have all said last year was a great year. I mean, for business, right? It sounds bad to say because there's so many people that, didn't do well last year, so many businesses and such. But, as far as our industries go, last year was a good year. So, we are getting people who are taking it more serious and getting their stuff done.
And they've got a story to tell because their mom and dad or their brother or sister either passed away or was in the hospital or nearly died, or somebody they know that they went to high school with. And like you said, it's that shake, that reality check that they needed to be like, you know what? I need to get my stuff in a pile. I really do.
I want to tell you all the cool
Get my
stories
stuff in a pile.
Yeah. I think maybe it was that first podcast I was on. So I had a couple people reach out to me who listen. And so, Scott, as you mentioned, if there's anything about this podcast or any of the other ones that we've been on that, anybody wants to talk to me about, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to take time to talk to them. But I had a gentleman who reached out and I had a couple phone calls with him. And the gentleman had been in the industry and mostly, I forget what company or whatever, but been in the industry for decades. I think like 30 some odd years. I think he was 60-ish or in his 60s, somewhere around there. And so I just kind of started asking him, he's like, well, what, I like the way that you position that, that you do your, the process you take people through. So that was the first one that we were on, I think, guys. So if anybody wants to reference that, what was that, episode 85 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said he liked that. And so I was just talking to him about, well, what are you doing? He was trying to reach a goal by the end of that year. And I think it was specifically a life insurance sales goal that he had never reached. And so I was talking to him and gave him a few pieces of advice. One was to hire an assistant and kind of walked him through like, look, man, there's things that you shouldn't be doing. You need to hire an assistant. Here's what I would, if it were me, what I would tell you to focus on. And, based on what you just told me, here's what I would do if I were you. And I said, I really want to know. I want to know, if you implement these things, how they work out. And so I don't know, it was 3 or 6 months later. Maybe it was the beginning of this year. And he reached out all excited. And he was like, I just want to let you know, I implemented what you told me and I reached the goal. I hired an assistant. She worked with me. We reached the goal. I'd never in my entire career reached that goal. And he was like, it's, because of the things that you told me. So I that was a powerful moment for me. That was, I'm sure y'all see that all the time because that's what you guys do, right? Y'all are having these podcasts and giving some useful information, but it was a really cool moment. If he's listening to this, I hope he's still, doing really well.
The most frustrating thing about this is when someone calls you for advice and you pour your heart out to them because, Scott and I have never ignored a DM that we know of. We've never not taken someone's call that wanted our call and that sort of thing, as have you, Andrew. And if someone carves out 10 minutes of your time, you pour your heart out. That's their 10 minutes. I try to never be distracted when someone's asking for my advice and that sort of thing. And there's nothing more frustrating than when you pour your heart out to someone trying to help them and their problems become your problems in that 10 minutes and then they don't take the advice. So it's really, really refreshing for me to hear that someone reached out to you, took your advice and did very well with it, it seems. So that's kudos to you, man.
Hey, can we have secret time for just a second? Can I tell a secret?
Trust tree. Okay.
I have a romantic notion in my mind of something happening, and I'm going to confess it right now on the podcast because, I mean, it just is what it is, and y'all are going to laugh at me.
This is the time of the podcast where Bradley looks to see what time it is, just in case Scott says something that needs to be taken out.
So I have this romantic notion that, and I dream about this sometimes, that one day in the distant future, like I'm like 68 years old, right? And I'm living on my 30 or 40 acres out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm out there on my tractor bush hogging, and I got my overalls on, and I'm listening to some, self-help podcast. And I'm coming back to my barn, and this limousine pulls up I swear to God, this is like true. This is a romantic notion that I have. Okay.
I'm just laughing at this scenario. Like
some people have like romantic
sounds
notions.
like a movie.
Some people have romantic notions about girls and women and stuff. I have romantic notions about stuff like this. So I'm driving my tractor back to my barn, and all of a sudden this limousine pulls up in my driveway on Pine Ridge Road, middle of nowhere. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't get a lot of limousines out here on Pine Ridge Road. I wonder who that guy is. So I get off my tractor, drive it up to the driveway, and I get off. About that time, the door of the limousine opens up, and it's somebody that I don't know who the person is. I've never seen them before in my life. And I get off my tractor, and I walk up and introduce myself to them, and they say, Scott, you don't know me. You've never met me before. But when I was 23 years old, I started listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. And I listened to that for 10 years until you got to episode 5,000. And I want you to know that through your podcast, I built a $250 million insurance agency. And I've got a check here for you. And he sticks his hand out, and he's got a check for $1 million he hands me. And that's my romantic notion.
Man, so where I thought you were going with that was it was going to be like the chairman of the board of directors of like Nationwide, and they're like, hey, will you please come back and run our company? Almost like going back to pick up the old washed up football coach. Like, we really need you to come run our company.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, I don't know. I'm done with that. And they're like, no, come on,
And he gets there and he fires everybody, and people hate him, and he shows up in overalls, and it turns into this whole thing. He ends up meeting the girl of his dreams, and it turns the company around, and they sell for like 300 times earnings and all that. Anyway, do y'all ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I watched that episode where
the warthog.
Yeah, the warthog.
Yeah, when Danny DeVito goes back and he's a warthog, that would be you, just chopping block, man.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, it's freaking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. That's my romantic notion, guys, that one day one of you is going to get out of a limousine in my house in the middle of nowhere and hand me a check for $1 million and say, dude, I did every bit of this because of you. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's my romantic notion. But so
when you're 67 or 68, I mean, these people really got to hurry. I mean, that's like 3 years from now.
No doubt. No doubt. You're right.
Thought you were going to say better hurry because he's going to die soon.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Andrew, we got to give these people some actionable stuff that they can get off this podcast and go do today, because that's our job. Yeah. So what has changed in the life and financial services in terms of, is there anything you're doing different? And by the way, I hate to get off on another tangent, but if you remember correctly, the three of us on this podcast today were together. I was giving you back massages, which my wife is still jealous about, because I'll start massaging her and I'll be like, hands of a God, hands of a God. The three of us on this podcast were together in Las Vegas, Nevada, 1 or 2 weeks before COVID hit. What has changed since then? What in your world, what has changed?
Hey, can we tell the story about Andrew showing up to the carrier party in sweatpants first?
Oh yeah, please go ahead. That was fantastic.
I just feel like it's one of my favorite stories. I just feel like we should tell it.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody was like, "Who's this homeless guy?"
So Andrew is always very buttoned up, suit and tie, suspenders, very, very well put together. And so it was kind of, that's part of the story, because it's funny. And again, I wear a t-shirt and jeans, tennis shoes every day. So anyway, we get to Vegas, and there was one day that we had overlap. Andrew was at the end, the last day of his trip, last night of his trip. We were at the first night. You were out there for, was it MDRT? You were out? No, it was New York Life, something.
Yeah, it was a New York Life educational thing.
Yeah. It was Hegna was there too. We ended up running into Hegna later. But anyway, so we're trying to get together that night, and we were like, hey, man, come out. We're going to go to dinner. Come to dinner. And so we had this carrier party we had to go to that was at a bowling alley. It was kind of schwanky to a little bit. Andrew's like, well, are you sure that you want me to come? Because I'm in my sweatpants. And I'm like, oh, he's joking. Sweatpants to Andrew is like jeans and a t-shirt to me. Not that there's anything wrong with because it's Vegas. I mean, who cares? But we get there, we're at this carrier party, and Andrew's in sweatshirt and sweatpants, and we're there talking.
Like those sweatpants you wear to bed, sweatpants.
Yeah. And we're there talking to, and I'm not busting your chops. Like, it's hilarious. It's just
hey guys,
hilarious.
I was comfortable. You know what
I mean? I was jealous. So we're there, and I think we're talking to the CEO of Keystone, and it's me and Scott and Andrew, and Scott's like, hey, I'm Scott. Hey, I'm Bradley. He's like, this our friend Andrew. I know he's thinking like, who is this guy here in the sweatpants? It's just their friend Andrew. Like, anyway, it was funny. It was one of those just kind of funny things. You had to be there moments. Anyway, sorry.
The funniest part about that whole thing is I never checked up or thought anything about it. Like,
yeah, I know.
But I'm like, register with me that he had sweatpants on. I didn't care.
Rolling and convulsing in the corner, like laughing, like. Just at the like the juxtaposition of like CEO Bradley Scott, Andrew, and I don't know. It was hilarious. But
I don't think anybody would think I was homeless because they'd be like, that is a very well-fed homeless gentleman. If he's
that was a fun night though. Went to Benihana.
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm. We went by that cigar bar, but we ended up not stopping. It was a good night.
That was fun, guys. We need to do that again sometime.
I feel like the world hadn't been the same since then. Maybe we all three should get together again, and maybe that will put the world back on its axis. You know?
I'll bring my sweats.
Please. Hey, you know what? I actually got a pair of I'm a sweatpant guy now. I wasn't then. I got a pair of like, the jogger pants with the elastic at the bottom, but they're sweatpants. And I wear them to the gym, and my brother-in-law makes fun of me because it'll be 112 degrees in the gym and I'm wearing my sweatpants. But anyway.
Well, besides us doing the real life version of Hot Tub Time Machine, tell us all what has changed since COVID for you and for the other financial services people out there. And then follow that up with, let's get into what these agents can do now, since it should be like shooting fish in a barrel, to write more life insurance.
Yeah, I think for people who do what we do, whether that's life insurance or financial services, so, meaning retirement planning or any of that, any of the guys out there who do, retirement planning, investing, any of that, uncertain times, people want our help, right? They want answers. And then, as I mentioned before, with kind of the, the kick of the pants that everybody's had over the last year and a half or so with, realizing that we might not live forever, and people getting their estate planning and life insurance done, all good things, right? So, I mean, I've had more and more people reach out to me needing help with whatever it is. So that's been great. So it should be really, I don't want to say easy, but it should be easier. And, with some of the looking forward with some of the potential tax changes, estate planning changes and things that the new administration is considering. So what they say they want to happen and what actually happens are always two different things, but is another really great case for, having a sufficient amount of life insurance. Now, having said that, I mean, I think everybody knows here, like we want to help as many people as we can, but, they need what they need, and that's what they should get. But
right.
I think everybody on here knows, everybody you meet with, I can probably count on one hand. I've been doing this for 10 years now. I can probably count on one hand how many people I've met with throughout the years that had, once we do a life insurance need calculation, has the amount of life insurance that they need. Mm-hmm. I mean, on one hand, and I've met with, at this stage, probably, at least a couple thousand people, right? So it's exceedingly rare. So, I mean, if you're doing a good job, and we've talked about this too, we talked about this the previous time I was in here, getting away from the transactional nature. And I realize with property casualty, it's a different game, quoting and everything else, it's really
not though. A lot of agents make it that way. but it's really not. It's not as much advisement as life and health and financial services, but it's really not. It's just agents make it commoditized, and
I know, and
companies
I think
make it
to
commoditized.
to y'all's own detriment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, if we can take, and this is coming from my end, so I don't do property casualty. We do financial planning. So we charge for our time and advice. So
Mhm.
whether that's a fee for service or a monthly or annual fee or something like that. So, I mean, if people work with us, they're paying us a fee, right?
Yeah.
So, but it is hard to find a property casualty agent that, we can comfortably refer people to, because we're fiduciaries, so we have a responsibility to make sure that they have the best things, and we don't want somebody that's just like, oh, hey, yeah, what do you got? Okay, well, I can get you this for cheaper. And it's like, no. What do they need? Can you tell them what they have and why? And I think that's a big, just explaining. And I will tell you, for what we do, we take a lot of time to explain, and that's one of the best compliments I get, is being able to explain things in a way where people can understand them. But explaining things in a way that people can understand, and people, that's great. I never knew that worked that way. Or I've never had to explain in a way where it made sense. That made sense. And people avoid what they don't understand. So if they don't understand, I mean, how are y'all ever, for the property casualty insurance agents, instead of just commoditizing and let me do a quote and this, that, and the other, if you took the time probably, and look, some people just want a quote and they want to get in and out. But I feel like for a pretty good chunk of people, if you can spend the time to educate them on, well, look, here's the policy you have now, here's this one, here's the differences, here's why this is important, here's why this is important, here's how this works, here's how that works. Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit more, but this is what you get with it, and this, that, and the other. And look, you can do either one. Giving options and explaining them and everything else would probably lead to higher premiums for those those agents,
Right.
And the retention too.
And the retention and the referrals and everything else. So both, Scott and Bradley, both of y'all are friends with me on Facebook, and I spend a lot of time. I do 12 to 15 hours of reading and research a week, and y'all see my posts. I try to put out good informational posts, and
You do a great job on Facebook, by the way. It's very honed in.
Thank you. But I think that's something, if a property casualty agent would just spend the time to, like, hey, look, here's how your homeowner's insurance works. Here's the different, and again, just in just dropping these little bits of knowledge, maybe not this big, essay about it, but like, hey, here's how this portion of your homeowner's insurance work. Here's a little known fact. Did you know this? Here's something that's important to keep in mind, right? So people are starting to look at it like, well, shit, I didn't know that's how that worked.
Yeah.
Right. That's a great piece of information to have. Does my policy have that? I don't know. Maybe I should ask Scott or Bradley. Right. So I think people are missing the boat on that.
Well, it's one of those things too, Andrew. It's like, I see your posts and they're so informational, right? And then no offense to anybody else, I'm really not trying to knock on anybody, but I see other agents that work for a particular company that I might have one time worked for. And they're like, you need to get life insurance today because you could die, or crap like that. And I'm like, no, you can't just focus on the doom and gloom and you need to protect your families because you could die. Nobody wants to think about that or talk about that. You have to position it from a value standpoint, and this being the smart thing to do with your money and your finances and things like, does that make sense? Like, it's completely positioned another way from an advisement standpoint, rather than just you need to buy insurance and the answer to all your problems is buy life insurance from me.
Yeah. And and we have two doctor clients, husband and wife, that recently signed on, and they pay us a nice annual fee. And we told them, because they worked with, again, I won't name the company, but they worked with an advisor who worked for this company. That they're like, we've used her for years, and we're tired of every time we come to her with a problem, the answer to all of our problems is always whole life or annuities. And we're like, we're not opposed to those things, right? But we just want to make sure, like, that can't be the answer.
Like, your customers know. Yeah. You think you're outsmarting them, but you don't. Yeah.
And so they hired us to do, a big business and personal analysis for them. And so we spent a lot of time with them and all those things. And they continue to work with an advisor who manages their money for them and does their insurances for them. And I told them, I'm like, there's nothing that person does that I can't do, but I want there to be a distinction. I don't want, if you need more life insurance, or if you need whatever else, I want you to do it through that person. I want you to keep your money invested with that person. I want you to do the insurances with that person, because I want there to be a clear distinction of, if you need more life insurance and I recommend that, I don't want you thinking, well, do we really, or is Andrew going to make a commission on it?
Right.
Well, you either need it or you don't. So I'm going to recommend it, and call her and she can help you get it. Right.
Exactly.
But again, we charge for it. So that's, we charge for our time and advice, so we can do that. But my point with all of that is, to your point, Bradley, is, if somebody comes to you, you got to do the right thing for the client, right? They either need what they need or they don't, but don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. But if you can spend the time, people don't care what these things do. They care what it does for them. Right. So if you can spend time explaining to them, and so when I walk people through this, everything is very logical, and I explain things in a way, and I give stories and examples. And Scott, you're a great stories guy, right? That's one of your great strengths. And, and I think that goes a long way, because that, we historically learn through stories, right? So if you can tell people a powerful story or an example or something like that, really makes the point stick home, stick with them and drive the point home, that makes a big difference. So, being able to explain things in a way that is logical and part of a process where this fits into everything else you have this way, and here's why this is important, and let me walk you through this, and your life insurance calculation, I'm asking you questions and you're giving me the numbers. All of these are your numbers, right? And then at the end of it, these people very often need a $1 or $2 or more $1 million life insurance policy, where it's like, they had 50,000 through work, and before coming to see you, thought they were, if they have given it any thought at all, thought they were probably fine. And then, you walk them through this process, and they're like, yeah, you know what? Based on my life insurance calculation, I need $1.6 million worth of life insurance. And like, does that sound right to you? Well, yeah, there's the numbers. We just did it. Right. So, yeah. All right. Well, do you want our help with that? Right. So again, it's gotta make sense to them. And it can't just be like you said, Bradley, hey, you know what? You could die walking out of here. You need to get life insurance. Okay, well, how much does it cost? I can get it for you for as little as $10 a month. Well, that you
could choke on the ice cubes in that drink. You need life insurance.
You don't know crap about what they need. You haven't done a life insurance calculation. You haven't talked about what's important to them and what they want to happen if they're not here. All those things. It's just the life insurance is to self-complete the things that they're going to do anyways, as long as they're here to live and work and earn money and do those things, right? So you're probably saving for your kids. You want to have money, assuming you're not here to work and earn and save money for your kids. How much do you want sitting there? Do you want this to be self-completing, where there's $100,000 sitting there per child for their college or Head Start to Life or whatever, right? So, and again, the process, which again, y'all can kind of listen to on the previous podcast. I won't go through it again unless you want me to, but it is just to walk them through where people understand. Because if somebody walked in and you're like, you need $1 million worth of life insurance, they're going to be like, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? What are you talking about? But very often, like I said, you do a life insurance need calculation with these people, and they very often need significantly more than what they have, many, many times more than what they have. They just haven't put any thought into it, and you're helping them put thought into it.
And don't be scared to make your customers uncomfortable and put them in a spot. And what I mean by that is, I had a client one time that was an attorney. I like insuring attorneys because they have their crap together from a documentation standpoint. A lot of times I can say, send me your policies, and not only will they send me their policies, but they will send me every single possible policy they've ever purchased ever, and every renewal thereof. And this person sent me their policies, and I was looking at it and I was like, you have $5,000 in life insurance. And I'm not talking about $5,000 premium or $5,000 cash value. I'm talking about $5,000 face amount. And I said, why in the heck do you have $5,000 in life insurance? And I said it exactly like that. And the attorney said, well, to be honest with you, I'm an attorney and I'm going to sue the pants off of you, attorney. And I think a lot of people are scared to have that conversation with me or assume that I already have it in place. But no, that's all I have. So I'm not patting myself on the back because I still didn't have an uncomfortable conversation, but I think avoiding uncomfortable conversations leads to things like that. Don't be scared to put the fire to their feet and say, hey, where's your life insurance at? What's going to happen if you get killed in a car wreck on the way home today, what's your plan? Because you need to plan for that.
And I think,
Right?
Bradley, to your, if people had a process that they took clients through, I found that to be very powerful throughout my career, to where life insurance doesn't seem like I'm bringing it up out of nowhere. It's part of the plan, and it is. There's multiple other things. We're talking about their property casualty insurance. We're talking about their health insurance, their life insurance, their disability insurance, their emergency fund, their estate planning. Right? We're talking about all these things.
Just part of the process.
It's part of the process. Do you have these things in place? And some of these things we help with, some of the things we don't. It doesn't matter. You're paying me for my, analysis and my advice. So, and again, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure you have these things taken care of. So do you have them taken care of? Mm-hmm. And so instead of just, coming out of the gate about the life insurance, it's like, no, we're going to talk about all these things. We spend virtually the same amount of time on all these things, life insurance being one of those things. And it's just, we walk them through it where it's all part of the process. It's all very logical. We explain it away. And it's just a thing like, yeah, there's multiple other things you need to work on. Right? Like here's a couple of estate planning attorneys you need to meet. Cause again, I could count on one hand how many people have their estate planning done, right? Go get your estate planning done. You need more life insurance. We can help you with that, or you can get it through somebody else. It doesn't matter. Right. But you need to get it done. You need this, you need that. And it's just one of the things, but people feel very comfortable knowing I'm getting my shit together.
Hey, Andrew, I got a question for you.
Sir.
Top 3 things that every person listening to this podcast needs to have done. If you're meeting with all 250,000 of these insurance agents, if you could give them the top 3 things that most people don't have, or that's part of your process, like you need 1, then you need 2, then you need 3. What are they?
So, I have what I call my financial foundation, and there's bricks of the foundation. So it's property casualty insurance, being home and auto, maybe umbrella, health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, emergency fund, and estate planning. Typically speaking, people do not have anywhere near what they need for life insurance, right? So
what number was life insurance? Was that like 3? Number 3?
Yeah, that's third in the process, right?
Okay.
So that's property casualty, health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, emergency fund, estate planning. So we go over the life insurance. 99% of people do not have anywhere close to the amount of life insurance that they need. Emergency fund, again, people typically don't have a well-established emergency fund. If they do, they don't have it earmarked as strictly an emergency fund. It's kind of in there with normal savings too, So in my opinion, it needs to be a third and separate account that's strictly earmarked for, this is a crap hits the fan account, right? We have our normal checking and savings, then we have our emergency fund, and then find a high yield savings for that or whatever. And then the last one being estate planning. So those are the 3 things that I find most people don't have done at all, or just are not nearly what they need.
So last question of the day before we let you go. Question.
Yes, sir.
Here's one other change I've seen in the world of financial planning. Do you have people calling you going, I want to take all my money out of what I'm in and put it in crypto? Because I know that has to be happening from time to time.
I would love to get Andrew Martin's thought on crypto.
It's a hotly debated topic, isn't it? I do get a lot of questions about it. I'm pretty democratic about it, right? I'm usually like, well, and I'm like this about most things. I'm not well, this is awful, or this is the best thing since sliced bread. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, right?
Right.
So we haven't had anybody want to pull all their money out and, put it all in crypto. Knock on wood. I hope you didn't just put the bad juju on me. We haven't had that happen yet. I do get a lot of questions about it. We do have a lot of clients who invest in it themselves, but no, we haven't had anything crazy happen like that. But it is an interesting phenomenon for sure. And of the 200 and however many thousand people who are listening, there's going to be a wide range of opinions on it, right? So, and I just will say objectively, if you're looking at it, remove all emotion and preconceived notions. If you're looking at it objectively, it's being pinned as a currency and called a currency, but it does not exhibit any of the 3 traits of a currency, right? You also do not invest directly in a currency. You might invest in the change of the difference of prices between currencies, but no one's investing in the yuan, right? Or no one's investing in the, in the renminbi or any of that other kind of stuff, right? So, you don't invest directly in currencies, and then people are trading them and investing them as stocks, right? And they're not stocks, they're currencies, right? So, with a stock, when you buy a stock, you're buying a percentage ownership of a company, and you can see based on that company's financials whether that is a good investment and if the stock is fairly priced or not. You can't do that with any of the cryptocurrencies because you can't. And I'm not saying that cryptocurrencies are stupid or they're the devil. They're either the way of the future or they're an enormous scam. It's got to be kind of on one side or the other, right? So I put money in cryptocurrencies.
Do you?
It's very little. I'm viewing it as a hedge against what? I don't know. But from a percentage basis, the amount that I invest in that versus the amount that I'm investing in other places.
I'm asking this question as someone who owns zero cryptocurrency. What would you say to people listening to this saying, oh, Andrew's just saying that because he's trying to protect his interests as a financial advisor?
People pay me a fee for my time and advice. If you want to invest in cryptocurrency, if you want to invest in your business, if you want to invest in real estate, if you want to self-manage your investments, I don't care, right? So, I do because we have a fiduciary responsibility to care, but it doesn't matter to me, right? If you want us to manage your assets, great. If you want to take it all out and put it in cryptocurrency, great. I don't care. I do my best to not let myself be blinded by biases. There's no way to completely, do that, but I try my best to look at both sides of any argument and try to look objectively at things, and as objectively as I can be about it.
Yeah.
That's what I see. I don't have a strong opinion on it's horrible, you should never put money in it. I also don't have a strong opinion like some people have that whatever Kool-Aid they're drinking, that it's the best thing society. It's probably somewhere in the middle, but it's going to be on one side or the other. Either it is the way of the future and it's going to turn out being great for those who have invested, or it's going to be, go down in history as one of the biggest scams. And the way I invest in it, I don't trade. I have a certain amount going in it every week. That's what I do. Now, I will say, for those who are listening, if you're interested, the tax treatment of cryptocurrencies. So this might either be for yourself or for clients. Not that probably many people on here should be giving tax advice, but it is an interesting point nonetheless. Cryptocurrencies, the IRS considers them property, not securities. And so the distinction is, if I own a share of Amazon and it goes down and I want to sell it to be able to write off the loss, I can't repurchase that share of Amazon for 30 days or more, for 31 days, right? So otherwise it's a wash sale. So if I sold it at a loss and bought it within that 30 days, I don't get to write off the loss. I have to wait 30 days to invest back in Amazon, right? With a cryptocurrency, since it's considered property and not a security, it's different. So if you, have 100,000 invested in cryptocurrency and it goes down to 50,000 due to the wild swings that it's prone to, you could sell it at that $50,000 loss, be able to write off that loss, right, for the year, but immediately reinvest. So sell, buy right back, and you've still locked in that loss and, able to write it off, but there's not that 30-day wash rule, right? So for people who are higher income or people who have quite a bit, who they want to be able to, write off those losses, not that I'm recommending. Nice, Bradley. You got the shades on. Not that I'm recommending people.
Sorry.
Not that I'm recommending people to do that. I'm just saying that, to get in the habit of trading. But I'm just saying that that is an interesting phenomenon, or an interesting distinction on the difference of how those are taxed. So if you are into those, and if that's what you want to do, keep that in mind as you're doing that. To if you want to be able to write off losses, because those things are volatile.
Well, I think what's important too, Andrew, is to talk about not putting all your eggs in one basket. I think some of the best advice I've seen around crypto since all this has started has been financial advisors saying, just don't put more than X% of your net worth into that.
Yeah, a buddy of mine who's in the financial industry as well sent me, I don't know if it was from Reddit or something, but some kid apparently he was like, I just took my whole $160,000 student loan and invested it all in whatever cryptocurrency, YOLO or whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, and then you hear people taking second mortgages on their home and doing all kinds of crazy nonsense. So yeah, be smart about it. Again, I'm not telling people to avoid it. I don't think it's a horrible thing. I don't know.
Well, it's one of those things too, like making a decision that poor. Like I would bet that things aren't going to go well for that person at the end of their life. Like if you continue to make stupid decisions like that,
yeah,
eventually one or two of them aren't going to pay off and you're going to be in a bad way.
And guys, be prepared for the amount of comments that y'all are going to get on this from the people who are super, crypto.
Well, and it's important to say that we're not anti-crypto.
Yeah, I'm not at all. But I mean, you're gonna, dude, just from seeing comments on it, I mean, people just go off on,
just poke the bear,
like they know, like they're experts, and they watched a couple YouTube videos, and now they're, guys, nobody knows. It's like I got asked yesterday by somebody, do you think there's going to be a recession or a market crash or something, this year or the next year? And I'm like, I don't know. Nobody knows. Yeah. Market prediction are useless. Nobody knows. Okay. If they tell you they know, they're lying to you. They're full of it. Right. So, and to the point I was talking about earlier, Bradley, I post a Ray Dalio for those who know who Ray Dalio is. If not, you need to look him up. Very, very smart, very thorough, thoughtful. If you read any of the things that he puts together about the market or the economy, it's very well thought out, very studied. He's one of the best financial minds of our time. And he posted on LinkedIn. He's very good about making it, accessible to everybody. A very long but thoughtful, his 2 cents based on all the studying he's done about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and stuff like that. And again, it wasn't like they're horrible or they're not or whatever. It was just like, here's my thoughts. Mm-hmm. And but basically, him saying he doesn't think that it's going to be like the new wave of the world or something to that effect. And so I posted it. And a guy I know.
How'd that go for you?
I
said, how'd that go for you?
Some people are able to be objective. Some people are not. So this guy is the other I'm referencing is one of the guys who just really thinks he knows and he doesn't. And that's not just about cryptocurrencies. He's done that about multiple things where I'm like, dude, you really, anyways, you can't be objective. And so he posted something and, commented on somebody else's comment like, oh, well, Ray Dalio just doesn't understand it. It's this and it's that. And, the normal things that people say, it's decentralized. It's this and it's that. And oh, there you go.
I've got the picture of us up in the virtual background.
Perfect picture.
Nice. But
I just got a new MacBook, so this is the first time I've got to do a virtual background. Anyway, continue.
Look at you.
But he goes on about like, well, Ray Dalio doesn't understand it, and it's this and it's that. And I commented back and I was like, hold on. So just so I'm clear, Ray Dalio, one of the greatest financial times of our generation, or financial minds of our time and our generation, doesn't understand this, but you do. Mm-hmm. And I'm just putting another opinion or whatever. Like, no. You just acted like he doesn't understand and you do. So don't. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I asked the question, what do you say to the people saying, hey, this is just Andrew trying to defend the guard of being a financial advisor? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what I say. Because that's probably, not that it's true, but that would probably be the pushback that you would get, right? Of all the pushbacks you would get, that probably would be the one that could carry the most weight. Not saying that you're doing that at all. Yeah. But from the outside looking in, some of the listeners, you know what I mean?
There's almost an anarchist, so it's kind of the same thing with the meme trades, right? People like, we're breaking the hedge funds, we're all these rich institutions are losing money because of us little people banding together. And I think that's kind of the same. It's the narrative, these are decentralized and it's not controlled by governments. And I think that's the thing that people are like, oh yeah, it's not controlled by, the governments or the the elites of the world or whatever, like the banks are, which I'm not saying that, there's something to that for sure. But I mean, they attach themselves to that. And again, it's the narrative and belief and the, all that. And that doesn't, while all that might be true, it doesn't make it a good place to put your money necessarily. It might be, right? It might be the greatest place to put your money. It might also be a scam.
Andrew, I think this is the perfect opportunity to announce our new sponsor, Ethereum. Ethereum, the title sponsor of the Insurance Guys podcast, the platform to end all platforms for blockchain. Go buy Ethereum today and let's see what happens.
Let's see that would be the perfect thing.
That's it.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for being on today, brother. I always love visiting with you.
My pleasure, guys.
I need more of you in my life.
I need to get together soon.
Yeah.
If you would come down for a batch session, Scott, I could get Andrew over here and we could go to dinner and have all kind of fun.
July 13th. Mark it on your calendar. I'll be down there.
Are you confirming? Okay.
Yeah. We'll do hot tub time machine. Everybody wear exactly what they wore on the night to end all nights.
Well, good news is I'm looking at the picture.
That will live in
here,
infamy.
So Andrew has to wear his bedtime sweatpants.
What you didn't know and what you couldn't see is my tuxedo Speedo that I had on under that I was hoping to get to later that night.
Well, if I'd have seen that, I'd have been going back to the room. So glad I didn't. But I appreciate you coming on the show today. Guys, as I always say, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your asses out from behind that desk today. This is your year, guys. This is your year to add life insurance to your agency. What does life insurance do besides help your clients and your client's wife and kids not have to starve to death when something happens to their husband? It also adds years of retention to their policies. We didn't even get into that because we just didn't. But the more policies you have with any account, and especially life insurance, the longer that account is going to stay in your agency, the more money you will make to help your wife, your husband, your kids' college fund, your parents that worked at Chrysler for 30 years and are struggling out there. Go write good business for the agencies that you represent and go write good business for the companies that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Andrew.
Andrew, I love you too, brother.
I love you too, man. Appreciate it,
guys. You are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love each and every one of you, and we look forward to seeing you back here real soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. If you need to know more about me or you need to get in touch with Scott, you can always reach me at theinsuranceguyonline.com or email me at iprotectins@gmail.com. And if you need to get in touch with Mr. Bradley Flowers, go to bradleyflowersinsurance.com or email him at bradley@saralandinsurance.com. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to being with you again real soon on the next episode of The Insurance Guys. Take care.